Hi y'all, this is Jack McGavick, Technology Design Coach with Austin ISD, and in this screencast I'm going to be talking about the high leverage strategy for personalization using data. So this screencast is going to talk about the high leverage strategy in broad strokes, and then I'm going to show you two examples, one elementary and one secondary, from Austin ISD teachers. Often when we talk about data in schools, we are thinking about benchmark data, star data, MOI data, basically test data. And it would be helpful for us to broaden and to redefine what we mean when we talk about data in order to meet our students' needs. And I want to reference the educator and author George Couros, who has a great blog post about placing evidence above data and thinking about our classrooms as learner-driven as opposed to data-driven. He says, I would contend that shifting from the word data to evidence is beneficial because evidence hints at something much more holistic than data. It can be tests or assignments, but it can also be conversations in and out of the classroom, events that schools put on, and a myriad of extracurricular opportunities that show tremendous learning. Using evidence to inform, practice, and move it forward is serving the child. He also says, when using the term learner-driven, it's more about getting to know your students on an individual level and finding out what drives them and what would best support them. So the two teacher examples I'm going to show you are both examples of using a broader set of data and giving the students ownership of that data and using the data to inform how we teach. Connected to this idea, there are several practices that teachers can implement that will help you make this transition to using data for personalization. I'll give you a second to read over these practices. The thread running through these is that different students need different things, and we can collect more data, broader data that helps us know what those needs are and then how we can best meet them. We also give students ownership over their own data. It's not just something that teachers look at and react to, it's something that students also own. So let's check out some examples. First, I want to highlight Lori Salome, who's an elementary teacher in AISD, and she is about to do some math stations with her class, and the class has taken a test prior to this point, but now she wants to give the students a survey that's going to inform how they move through their stations. So if we open this up, you'll see that she is asking the students to do a self-check. So she's asking, which skills do you consider your strongest? And you can click up to 3. So let's just choose these. And actually, as an extension, she asks if the students would be willing to create a how-to video or design a mini lesson to help teach each other based on the strengths that they have. Next, she asks about their growth areas. So any areas that the students still feel weak on after the first round of teaching. So pick a few. And finally, she just asks students to share anything else they would like teachers to know about their learning needs and submit that. When students proceed into the stations, she instructs them to use benchmark data and the self-assessment, which she would have provided back to them, the data from this form, in order to decide on which activities they're going to prioritize. So it's not just that benchmark data, although that's part of it. It's also more students' feelings about their strengths and weaknesses, and it's also leveraging those strengths to have them produce something that other students can use to learn as well. Let's look at Becky Lego's example. She's a high school teacher. And her unit is going to use geometric principles to study the concept of gerrymandering, looking at geography and using geometry to measure whether that's happening. So before starting the project, she wants students to be grouped in an intentional way. So she gives the students a pre-test. Students take the quiz with this quiz completion sheet, and when the quiz is over, they mark off which ones they got right and which ones they got wrong. And that data is what informs the groups that they end up in. Now, the reason that Becky's going to do this is because when students are working on their project, she knows that she can pull group A, and those are students who need reinforcement of a particular skill. So she's going to adjust her small group instruction to really tailor it to what those students need. And what I also want to call out is that in this module that Becky has designed, the students are in charge of their data. They're the ones writing down what they got right or wrong. That's going to group them. And they have an insight into the skills that they're weak on and what they already know. So hopefully these two examples give you some ideas of how to redefine and broaden the concept of data, how to use data to inform your instruction, not just to check understanding at the end, and also how to shift the ownership of data from something that only teachers use to something that students actually get to use. Thank you for watching.